know you. I don't know if you want to introduce yourself. I had the pleasure of working with Chris when I was a business agent. Um, he actually, I was at the shops for training he was at, and I mean, right away I could tell you were going to do good. So I don't know if you just want to give an introduction to yourself. And Caleb, I don't know what's going on, man. You keep joining and leaving and joining and leaving. Yeah,
Yeah, sure. I'll go ahead.
cool.
My name is Chris. Been with the company for about almost 5 years. I'm an ETR out of Alhambra base. This is actually my first union represented job, but um, I'm someone who has always been a firm believer in what the possibilities are for what a union can do, what they've done for the workers, and not just here but all over the years. And my my goal has been, since I was able to actually get a union represented job, was to try to make the union as strong as I know that they can be. Um, I'm as active as I can be at my base, trying to get the members a little bit more engaged, especially based on things that I've heard from them in the past about, like, oh, the union doesn't do this or the union doesn't do that. And, my thing has always been, well, the union is only as strong as we make it. So,
Right.
that's kind of been my goal. And once I've, kind of figured out how to get more involved, I've just, at every turn, I've been trying to get more and more in there. So
you're running for San Gabriel Valley, which currently is the region officer spot held by Erjan Ali. Have you worked with him a lot, or?
yeah, I mean, I've had the pleasure of, having several things with him, some of it due to the supervision at my base, pretty much not liking that I am a more active shop steward than they've had to deal with in the past. Some of the things that, I mean, it kind of goes with the territory sometimes. If you kind of kick the hornet's nest, they'll try to come after you. But he's been there and been on my side, through all of the stuff that I've had to go through with supervision, and always been there to give me, answer my questions or give me any kind of pointers of, hey, if they're doing this in an investigatory, this is what you can do. And he's been really good regional, and I'm glad to see that he's taken, trying to take a bigger role too, because I think that he'd be an asset up there too as well.
So if you win the office of San Gabriel Valley, what are you going to do more than you do currently to try and foster engagement or keep people informed?
I mean, I think that one thing that people need to see in general is that, the union's not just there to, like, only answer questions here and there when somebody kind of like pulls them aside. I think that being able to, living in the area and working in the area, gives me the opportunity to come across more of the members just in the day-to-day things, like, whenever there's an outage or something like that, we all kind of band together, and you wind up, if you're Alhambra base, you wind up Pasadena, Glendale, all over, and just kind of, getting to meet people that you don't normally run into on your day-to-day, and just kind of, showing them that, like, look, the union doesn't have to just be, a message board, a random visit from the union officers,
So when you
whenever they
when you say random
need
visit,
something.
do you mean that you'll actually announce when you're going to show up for base visits, or do you?
I would like to try to um, maybe set up something with the regionals of San Gabriel Valley to just, kind of work with them. I mean, Erjan was really good about that too, like saying like, hey, I'm coming for a base visit. Will you be around? Is there any way you can come to the base and meet? And we can kind of like meet with the guys. So I think I'd like to, I think that was a really good plan of his. And I really like to continue that of, kind of liaise with the other shop stewards, and not just to do base visits, but also, for just kind of like check the temperature of like what's going on there, like what issues they have, and kind of see what we can do as shop stewards to try to, make each base a better place for all the members, and
That's right. Because
ensure that
isn't Erjan one of the officers that's holding shop steward calls?
he is. Yeah, we do that. We do that from time to time, of just kind of like all the San Gabriel Valley shop stewards, and seeing like, we kind of like discuss different things. Obviously right now a lot of the discussions are centered around the contract, which is understandable, but we also try to bring up questions that we all have about individual things that are going on at our bases, and try to kind of put our heads together, which, I mean, the fact that Erjan took that initiative, because that's not something that the full-time officers have really kind of been in on. I mean, I don't know about the other shop stewards, but it is kind of disheartening that we haven't had a shop steward meeting union wide for some time now. And that's also something that I think with our slate, I feel like it'll probably be a lot more information going around than has been going around lately, which
More broadly, if Bill Gilbertson and the trustees were to like try and change the bylaws back to allowing region officers to hold or just preside over meetings in their area, I mean, would you? Hey, Caitlin, I don't know if you're still here. I'm sorry. I keep accepting your request to join, and it keeps failing. But Chris, going back, would you feel comfortable presiding over meetings? And there's not necessarily going to be a rigid order of business, but it would be not just shop stewards; it'd be the membership from your area, because I think you have 10 bases.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the more visible the union can be, and the more open access that can be there, I think I don't see how that could be a negative. I don't see how that, obviously I think that, with the way work schedules work already anyway, like a lot of times when these big meetings happen where it's just the full-time officers, like the last one that we had in my area, the 3 local bases got held. Alhambra got held, Pasadena got held, and it just was kind of like, So, I mean, to be able to, give the local membership an opportunity to express their concerns, and kind of me run down kind of what's happening with them, to give them more, to feel like they're more involved, like they're actually part of the union, and not just sending their dues off twice, every paycheck. That I think that, again, access where they say sunshine is the best disinfectant. You know, one of the things that, you know, what I hear a lot of is, hey, what's going on with this? Hey, what's going on with that? Hey, what's going on with this? And, you know, unfortunately right now I have to tell everybody like, hey, I know as much as you do because I don't get as much information as I would like to have. And it, you know, it doesn't give people the faith that they need to make the union as strong as it can be.
Yeah.
You know, I moved here from Chicago, and you know, if you've been around Midwestern union members, those people, like, the unions there are extremely tough. I mean, the Chicago Teachers Union, if they don't want somebody to run for mayor, that person is not running for mayor. When was the last time 132 had anything to do with any politician, or any of our locals had anything to do with any politician, even, you know, bothering to talk to us? Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's like, you know, that's what I want to see. I want to see local politicians, like, I want to see, like, the mayor of, you know, Alhambra coming to us and being like, hey, you know, we could really use your endorsement to get this, you know.
So I mean, Hoffman did do that. And so even though there's, you know, a lot of people have this disdain for him, if that's something that's beneficial, you would do it, not just because I'll let you know, we were at the board meeting, we're saying, hey, the membership wants updates, they want video updates. And they're like, that's Hoffman's deal. We're not going to do that. Can you hear me? I can't hear you. You muted yourself, Chris. You muted yourself. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I think he's on the other line. Oh, looks like we have another request to join. I'm hitting add. Oh. Caitlin, it says you declined. Says Chris is trying to join. So the question I was going to get to, which I'll just get there instead of talking so much. If the union were to ask you to go with the president and represent your area, San Gabriel Valley, to meet with the mayors or senators from your area to tell them what you're experiencing, what your members are experiencing from your area, you're willing to do that?
Of course. Yeah. I mean, you know, we need as much help as possible. I mean, you know, any outside influence that we can get on the company, not just, you know, because obviously the members we have, you know, we have a limited amount of power, especially based on, you know, the eroding of the power of unions in the last 30 years or so. Any, you know, any outside thumb on the scale on our behalf is something that, you know, I mean, is invaluable. If, you know, it's one thing if we're, you know, if we're kind of out there and saying our piece, but if the company is getting phone calls from city councils, local government, stuff like that, being like, hey, you know, what are you doing over here? Like, we got all these guys kind of, you know, all these members sending us emails and calls, and, you know, we've met with the president of the local and they're saying you guys are doing X, Y, and Z, you know. I mean, I don't see how it could be a bad thing to have as access to as much resources as possible for our benefit. I mean, the company has basically unlimited resources, and they'll use them to benefit them. So why not, if we can get our own like that, like why not do the same?
Yeah. And so I don't know what you and Bill have discussed, but Bill has told me that there are a lot of bylaw changes that he wants to see. Are there any that you've discussed with him that you think are great points and you want to talk about them, or are there any that you or your members in that area would want to see?
To be honest with you, not as such. But I mean, I'm open to looking at everything. I mean, I don't understand why why there in the past there's been this kind of like cloak and dagger thing about bylaws. I mean, these things are the things that govern how the union operates. I mean, they're extremely important, and to have more transparency about how the union operates and what it's allowed to do. And I think it's extremely important to look over everything and kind of make it to be where the like, I don't know, the last, for instance, the last bylaws meeting, like, I mean, I don't remember hearing pretty much anything from the union about, just very little, like, and I think that, I don't know, just from, my conversations with Urjan and the rest of the slate, like, it just seems like, again, my experience in the union is not as much as everyone else's. So a lot of times, I try to sit and listen and go from there. And I think from listening with them, like, I trust their judgment about, what needs to be adjusted. And, I'm willing to listen and kind of research what they're saying and kind of look into it and see if it makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's a good quality, and I know that the members would appreciate that. What about one of the things that stuck out to me was a bylaw change that they're proposing, um, where essentially they're going to move the reimbursements, and we tried this at the board before and it got defeated.
Mm-hmm.
But they're going to move the reimbursements over to like a prepay, where the union actually will cut you a check. Let's say you're going to a conference that you're required to go to or what have you. The union would cut you a check based on the General Services Administration.gov's per diem rates.
Mm-hmm.
So you put in the zip code, you put in the dates, and it's going to tell you lodging should be this much, your travel should be this much, incidentals, right? Mm-hmm. So if you get a $200 check per night for a hotel room, great. You want to sleep on the streets, it's up to you. But it would have to be put in the bylaws, and the bylaws would have to be voted on by the board to be sent to a membership, and then they'd have to approve it. Is that something you'd get behind? Because critics of that are saying that you would hamstring the union, that you would prevent it from being able to do its job. Or
I don't see how being fiscally responsible could hamstring it. I mean, I think that's, it kind of goes along with, like, being wasteful. Like, why not, if you're going to a conference, the whole point of going to the conference is to go there and to network and learn things, and not, hey, let me get the nicest hotel I can get and fly the nicest flight I can get. Like, you're there, you're not there to party, you know what I mean? And if you're getting a reasonable amount of reimbursement for, reasonable hotel. Like obviously you're not staying in some like, some unsafe, unhealthy place to be, but having reasonable reimbursement rates, I don't see how that could be a bad thing.
Right.
Instead of just giving somebody like, hey, spend as much as you want and then we'll figure it out later. It's like, well, I don't know about that.
Right. And there is another part to that because there will be expenses above and beyond that. But right now it's the Secretary's Treasurer's job to decide whether or not it's reasonable and necessary. And, in collaboration with the president. And then at that point, they can actually just go ahead and approve it and cut the check. But since the union would then move to the GSA.gov rates, the idea was any other expenses would then have to go before the board if they're going to be reimbursed. And that's another issue where they're saying, oh, well, that could bog down the union.
I mean, why shouldn't you have to justify? I mean, this is in kind of like a simplified term, this is the members' money. This is the members' dime that we're operating on. And I think that, if you're going to go and spend additional funds outside of what, a reasonable expense is, you should have to justify it. Well, why did you spend $350 on, X,
Dinner.
Y, and Z? Oh, well, yeah, on dinner. Or why did you get this, $200 a day rental car when you could have, if it's just you, why didn't you just get the cheapest rental car you could get? Like, what difference does it make? Like, I don't, so I mean, I don't see how.
So you'd be in favor of taking that discretion away from one officer and giving it to the entire board?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, because I mean, one person can just say like, oh yeah, no, I needed to have I needed to have this dinner because whatever. And it's like, okay, stamp. It's like, well, did you though? Like, did you, couldn't you have had this discussion with the person at the conference? Or, was it necessary to take 8 people to dinner with you? I mean, I think you should, you're not spending your own money. If you're spending your own money, then you don't have to justify it. You can spend as much as you want. But when you're spending other people's money, especially, when the union has had the financial troubles it has had in the past due to financial mismanagement, it's like, well, I think it's a better idea for you to have to, prove that this was a legitimate expense.
And to more than one person. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
I know there's a few other people that want to jump on. I don't know if you want me to try, if you don't mind, we can come back to you too, but if you don't mind, we can remove you right now. And then
I don't mind passing on to somebody else. I mean, I've been doing a lot. So.
Yeah. I don't know if the issue is, because you're supposed to be allowed to add 3. So I don't know if the issue is that we have one on here. But let me try this.
Yeah, go
ahead.
And
then people are saying I'm not talking loud enough. Is this better, or should I?
I might be pretty loud, so. But I'll go ahead and jump off and let somebody else jump in.
All right. And then Caleb, just to respond, and I'll respond to some questions while we try and get this done. Thank you, Chris. I really appreciate it.